And quite honestly, I don't think that whatever it is that's around in our skies, the UAPs and all the rest of it, the Tic Tacs, I don't think it's from other planets. Now, it could be interdimensional, which means they probably have figured a way to navigate through wormholes. Okay, but
Mhm.
not other solar systems. It's just too far. The distance between here and there, even in the shortest distance, 25,000 years to get here from.
Unless they've learned a way to use wormholes or bend space or something we just don't understand yet. I mean, that'd be the only way. Either that, or they traveled a long ways and they got here and they just camped out somewhere around us and have been producing there. I don't know. You know.
Well, that's listen. How do we put anything off the table right now?
Exactly.
How do we do that? And we don't have a clue. We really don't have a clue. We understand so much about our world as it is. And now we're looking at 10,000 years ago. And again, I'm going to go back to the idea and of the book of Enoch and the reason for the great flood. Now, some people say it was a giant meteorite or a comet that crashed into the earth and caused global warming and caused the ice caps to melt. Okay. But for whatever reason, the great flood occurred. There's also the theory around the Nephilim and the contamination. This is the book of Enoch. And this is why it's kind of strange that it was removed, even though it was used by the ancient Hebrew people. It was used as a kind of a guidebook for life by people 5,000 years ago and further back. But the current religious communities see it as sort of a novelty. Oh yeah, giants and demonic forces and you know blending of one thing and another, and giants having children with human women. It's a fantasy to some people, but it might be real. It might just be real.
Yeah, well, I think it all is. I think giants are real. I think there are some kind of extraterrestrial out there, but I think they're a lot closer than they're given credit for. Wherever that might be, I don't know. Maybe there's some elements of Mars, or maybe they're hiding here in Earth somewhere, maybe in Antarctica for all we know. I mean, they got a big zone there where you can't go anywhere near. So, you
Well,
never.
that's true, and I'm sure that if you've watched Ancient Aliens, as I have, there have been whistleblowers who have come forward to talk about the idea that there are no-fly zones over Antarctica. Okay, and there was a particular situation where there was a person who was a researcher, scientist, or something, who got very badly hurt. And so they dispatched a plane from McMurdo Base to go across, I mean, some 500 miles or something, but they were not allowed to go over this no fly zone, which is kind of in the middle of the island, this huge continent, actually. And the guy said, well, if we go around, then it's going to take us an extra 2 hours and the guy will be dead. So they went over, and guess what they saw, Mike?
Big entrance somewhere, didn't they?
They saw a big hole. They saw a big hole in the middle of a giant ice field, a big flat giant ice field, a huge hole the size of a football field.
Jeez.
And when they came back, they were told you can never talk about this. So 20 years went by, and finally, in anonymity, their faces and their voices were distorted. They talked about it. They talked about what they saw. So, what the hell is going on down at the bottom of the world? I'd like to know. I think inquiring minds would like to know.
I would definitely like to know. I'm so fed up with the secrets. For anyone who can't handle things, hey, that's their problem. I need to know. I want to know. I don't care what it is. Extraterrestrials, what's in Antarctica. Just tell the truth. Uh, that's what we pay them for. But we never get it, do we? Never get that
Well,
truth.
the truth is you know, the, the truth is a dangerous thing because the truth is at the core of everything, everything. But there are people who see the truth as a huge threat, because
Yeah.
what that truth does is that it brings more questions, right? And people that want control don't want others questioning. They don't want others finding out. There's forbidden knowledge. Let's just put it to you this way. And there's people that have access to forbidden knowledge, and that gives them a decided edge over people who don't.
Yeah.
And so they don't want people knowing the truth. They want people being in the dark, and essentially kind of like H.G. Wells' Time Machine, the Eloi and the Morlocks and the underground dwellers. Ultimately, in within the story of H.G. Wells' Time Machine, the underground dwellers were people who were more technologically based during the course of evolution, of human evolution. So, they went underground for whatever reason. I think there were numerous time periods within the storyline, and some of those time periods were times of existential crisis. So they stayed underground. But what they had to do was they had to farm their cousins, the Eloi, for food.
Oh man. Well, it kind of sounds like Earth today. Look, and we basically have to slave ourselves for food. We used to be self sufficient and no more. Now you spend most of your day slaving somewhere so you can make just enough to not make the bills.
Well, that is true. It is